Back here in the U.S. tonight to the bomb threats targeting at least a dozen state capitals. Emails claiming explosives were, quote, well hidden and that people would end up dead. Evacuations ensued as teams then swept through buildings in multiple states. Tonight, authorities now investigating who is behind this hoax. Here's ABC's Steve Osunsami from Georgia, one of the states rattled by these threats.
With political stakes and tension so high, authorities today had to take the threat seriously. A bomb threat called into at least a dozen state houses across the country, sending law enforcement officials sweeping for explosives that they did not find. People were running from state capitals in Montana, Kentucky, Michigan, Georgia, and others. Federal investigators tonight say that the email that triggered it all came from outside the country. The note sent to lawmakers was just a few sentences saying that the explosives were well hidden and that people would end up dead.
I'm not even sure what would motivate somebody to do something like that could potentially result in loss of life.
In Maine, Secretary of State Shenna Bellows had a similar incident happen on Friday where someone called police to her home for no need. It was less than 48 hours after she decided that former President Donald Trump needed to be removed from the state's primary ballot.
What happened today against the Capitol, or what happened at my house on Friday night, they're designed to make people afraid, to send a message.
The FBI says that in this environment, even when the threats appear to be fake early on, they still have to take them very seriously. David?
No question about that.
This is the United Uprising channel. Welcome to today's show. I wanted to cover this story because this is, again, out there for a reason. These things do not happen for any other reason other than to condition you into believing that this false reality is actually going on around us. And of course, we know that they're doing everything they can psychologically to divide the people and to herd the people, destroy the current government structure. All of this is being done psychologically to make you want it, to make you need it, to make you think that the system is failing you, when in reality, it's just a group of individuals who are doing this to you. And if people put their ideas together, if people bonded together as far as realizing that these ideologies they're preaching and the things that they're pushing are all done by design to divide us, if people looked at the secret societies, if they looked to the Freemason lodges, to the Eastern Star lodges, etc., they would see that these people have all networked their way to the top. And now what they're trying to do is destroy everything that's in place and blame you for it. So these stories are going to continue to psychologically be put out there for a reason. And now we have this story about how 9 U.S. state capitol buildings were evacuated after bomb threats. Now, the numbers floating around about how many actually were given bomb threats, but you could just start from the main concept of this, that it's not real, okay? 9 places did not get bomb threats. 23 places was the other number. They did not get bomb threats. This is all obviously done by design. They shut the capitals down. People laugh. They put the stories out there. They are preparing you for something to go down. This is a conditioning mechanism. If you understand basic psychology and you understand the mind, you will understand this. This is a psychosis that they're putting you under. They're trying to give you the illusion that chaos is occurring around us, that people are calling in threats to the Capitol buildings, to the president himself, to here, to there, to tear this whole thing down and blame it on wild, crazy civilians to keep us divided amongst each other, to point a finger at the opposite side. It's Democrats. Hey, it's Republicans, okay? This is an illusion that they're creating on your mind. Everybody's heard of hypnotism. Everybody's like, oh, hypnotism, you are getting sleep. Oh, that's real. And then I realize the main force, the main source, the main thing that is used for hypnosis is the television set. So let's read this bogus story. Of course, nobody asks questions. It says, how did 9 Capitol buildings all at once get bomb threats called in? But they say at least 9 buildings across the U.S. were under evacuation orders as of Wednesday due to bomb threats. Government buildings in Connecticut, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Kentucky, Maine, Michigan, Mississippi, and Montana received bomb threats via email to offices of secretaries of states and legislative officials. So, again, part of the thing they want to build into your head is that civilians in this country are terrorists, right? And civilians are terrorists on both sides, right? The liberals are lunatics. They're going after kids. The conservatives hate, they're not for democracy. They want to take down the government and they're all anarchists. They want to take the institutions down. So they're using these stories and creating these fake stories to obviously do just that. They're doing this to build this in your mind. When you hear this story, the first thing people are automatically thinking is that it was some type of anti-government Trump MAGA supporters who were calling in bomb threats, right? Or when it's the flip side, when it's something with the Supreme Court and it's something with Roe v. Wade, oh, it's these crazy liberals that are doing this. So this is all, again, done by design. The FBI said it was working with state and local federal enforcement to gather, share, and act on information. When in reality, of course, the FBI and the CIA could just look on their own laptops and their own desktops and see the blueprint for this story because they're the ones who created it. The agency said it was aware of numerous hoax bomb threats at state capitol buildings, but had no information to indicate a specific and credible threat. The FBI takes hoax threats very seriously because it puts innocent people at risk, the agency said. Officials from some of these states have also confirmed the threats and issued statements. Scott Diskrell of Connecticut, the Connecticut State Capitol Police, said earlier this morning the Connecticut State Capitol Police received complaints from numerous employees about a suspicious email that was received. The email which was apparently sent to numerous states, claimed to have placed multiple explosives in the Capitol building. Andy Bashar, the Kentucky governor, wrote on Twitter, X, while everyone is safe, KSP has asked everyone to evacuate the state capitol and is investigating a threat received by the Secretary of State's office. We are aware of similar threats made to other offices across the country. We thank our first responders for their quick response, and we will provide more updates. Again, remember these stories about bomb threats. They love to use these because it really builds up in the mind of people. You know, people who have a specific ideology politically are the culprits of these things, right? Recently, a couple of months ago, I guess it was in the summer, I covered the Satanic Temple, right? They had the after-school Satan program. A lot of Christians were protesting. The news stories came out that Christians were calling in bomb threats that they would blow up the school and do all these things to the school if they allowed the after-school Satan program in, right? It victimized the Satanists. It made Christians look like radicals. This is to make conservatives look like radicals. Of course, they're going to point the finger at conservatives with any of these types of events that they make national news. Otherwise, you would never hear about it again. Remember, that's the theme that I'm going to try to get into most people's heads as they continue to get sucked into the psychosis here, that everything in the news is fake. Everything in the news is out there. It doesn't mean that a local story on your local affiliate news about a domestic event between a guy and a wife or a robbery at a local gas station isn't real. They put those out in the local affiliate news stations to give you the idea that the news is completely real. The national news is completely fake. Everything on it is bogus. It is controlled. They don't waste a second of their time to air real news. What they're trying to do is create a psychological illusion in your mind of a false reality. You ever hear the quote about living in a simulated reality, living in a matrix? It's all in your mind. They're doing this. Nobody sent emails to all these state capitol buildings. Nobody was that out of touch, willing to go to jail for the rest of their lives to send fake bomb threats in. It's to continue to build the illusion that the citizens in this country are not only divided, but they're terrorists. And they want it on both sides, so much so that you will not want to live amongst these people anymore, as if the other side is a different species, okay? This is all psychologically done by design. Again, you break away once you start realizing that the news is fake. That's where you have to start with these stories, that it's fake, so they make them up. It's a programming mechanism. It programs you into observing things falsely, having a false perception of what's really going on. Because they tell you the news is everything going on in the world, and then they make it up so that you believe that's what's going on outside of your town. It's not going on outside of your town. They're formulating it. They're making it up for the reasons you're seeing right now going on in the world, in this country specifically. All of this stuff is dividing into the civil war, which is going to be civil division via states. People are going to separate themselves. There are going to be different rules, different laws, etc. I've been talking about it for years. So back to this fake story. They go on to say that threats were sent to all different Capitol buildings conveniently around the country. All of the buildings were evacuated. They're still working on figuring out who it did because, of course, they don't have to. We couldn't figure out who it is. Eventually, they'll give you some John Doe that they'll probably kidnap off the streets and say he's the culprit if they even want to give you the face of the guy. Most of the time, they don't even have to. They just off themselves conveniently, so there's never a trial, and nobody gets suspicious of any of it. It is all fake. So this is letting you know that you can expect some of these big things to occur because there will be false flags, many this year specifically. They have been just gaslighting people beyond comprehension over the last couple of years and setting us up for big, big events in this country. They will revolve around Capitol buildings, fake bomb threats, fake terror attacks. This is all your government, Republicans and Democrats, working together to sabotage this country and destroy all of us. Destroy our way of life, destroy our freedoms, to take away any independence on food and water, all of it. They are going to make you slaves to them. And everybody's falling for it, hook, line, and sinker. Republicans and Democrats. I can't emphasize it enough. I can't. Because too many people out there are putting their hope in some of these conservative politicians. They don't realize they're being worked. And if everybody realized they were being worked, everybody would band together against these people, and all this stuff would just vanish in the air like a fart in the wind. But unfortunately, they're looking to these heroes. And that's why all this stuff with Trump continues to go on. Oh, Trump's being persecuted. Oh, Trump's going to go into trial, but Biden's not. He must really be a threat to the deep state. This is the psychosis. How else would they garner support for him if they weren't victimizing him and doing these things and saying that the government, they're doing everything they can to stop him from getting into power, right? Meanwhile, when he was in power, he was the guy who ran in Operation Warp Speed so everyone could get poison in their bodies. He was the guy who oversaw censorship across social media. It all happened when Trump was in power, okay? Nobody even goes back and fact checks these things. His friendship with the guy on the island, like I just talked about. Oh, that's not the same. They weren't really associates. He threw him out. He didn't like him. They don't realize that they are so invested emotionally in this guy because of psychological operations that continually be played on their minds. And of course, when you build, again, a society of narcissists, which is what they've done, nobody wants to look around and say, oh, my goodness, yeah, Trump is one of them. They've invested too much of their energy, their time, and they need somebody to be a voice for them when the people don't need any of these people positioned to be voices for us. We need to band together, but it's not happening. You're being herded by both sides. And stories about fake bombs and fake this and fake that are setting everybody up for something bigger to come. And that's exactly what's going to go down likely in 2024. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless all of you as always and your families.